Back here, WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. NFL free agency is approaching as the new league year does start today. And now joining us is ESPN's very own John Clayton. John, it's Zach Gelb here in Philly. Thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
Good, Zach. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, and we appreciate a few minutes today on what is a very diligent day for you. First off, this Eagles-Dolphins trade that's going to be officially announced when the new league year does start today was very bizarre how it happened today. If you were following it on Twitter, first it was on, then it was off, and now it seems like it's back on, John.
Yeah, and you could see there was a lot of moving parts in that. I mean, first they were worried about some injury concerns for both Byron Maxwell and Kiko Alonso. And so they had to send Maxwell to a doctor. And understand, I mean, the Dolphin doctors historically have been one of the toughest as far as passing guys on physicals. I mean, just go back to Drew Brees when he signed with the New Orleans Saints. You know, Nick Saban was back there hoping that doctors were going to pass him on his shoulder, and they didn't. So there was some concerns, and it got to the point where they had already informed Brett Grimes that he was going to be cut. Then they started calling him back and saying, okay, we might need you back. How do you feel about that? And naturally, he wasn't going to be too happy because no player likes getting cut. So it got to that stage, but then Maxwell was able to be cleared by doctors. It looks like the trade goes in. It's a swap of first-round picks. And so now, you know, the Eagles move up 5 spots to 8, and the Dolphins move back 5 spots, and they've unloaded the contract of Byron Maxwell, who at $10.5 million was a pretty expensive item last year.
People are very happy here in Philadelphia when they're able to swap those first-round picks. Why would the Dolphins do that? Because that seems strange to me with the swap of the first-round picks.
Yeah, I found it strange, too. Now, you know, you can look at it on the draft chart, and that would be the equivalent of 250 points and a third-round pick. But, you know, here's where the concern is. I mean, you know, you're giving up the chance of maybe getting Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle of Notre Dame. Now, I know that, you know, because he's probably going to go somewhere in the top 7 or 8, so you're giving up a left tackle. Now, I know the Dolphins feel that they have a left tackle in Brandon Albert, but, you know, you give the chance of not getting a pass rusher. And, of course, to make this deal and to get in Mario Williams, you know, they gave up, you know, Olivier Vernon. So that was a little unusual. So, yeah, I think the swap of first-round picks, I think, is a big benefit for Philadelphia because now they're sitting in the top 8 of the draft if they need to move up a little bit. You know, this is not a draft that's great up top, but it's a real good, deep draft. You know, at least from the Dolphins standpoint, they didn't have to sacrifice a draft choice. But, boy, they move into a tougher spot at 13 than they are at 8.
What's the biggest area of concern for the Eagles as they get ready to pick at that number 8 slot after this trade becomes official today?
Well, I mean, they've still got to concentrate on some offensive line things. I mean, you can see that you know, they've done a good job. I mean, they spent over $235 million on re-signings. I mean, they've been able to take 7 players and get them under contract extensions, and you know they'll get a deal done with Fletcher Cox. So the big thing that they're trying to do is bring back that family atmosphere. I mean, it kind of got lost in the 3 years with Chip Kelly. I mean, Chip, you know, had the 2 10-win seasons, but it wasn't like warm and fuzzy, and they really couldn't even settle on Christmas parties. So now with Doug Peterson, who, you know, knows Howie Roseman and the organization very well, that's working out. Roseman's back in a spot as a, you know, acting GM and getting deals done. You know, they were able to get a safety done today. So Rodney Cloud from the Los Angeles Rams. So I think you can see that, you know, they're doing all business and getting it done, and they're going to be done earlier than just about any other team.
Seems like McLeod and Jenkins could be a lethal combination, John.
Yeah, because, I mean, the big thing they wanted to keep in Malcolm Jenkins is his leadership. He keeps everybody aligned well. He's a good leader. He went to the Pro Bowl last year. McLeod's a rising safety with good talent. I mean, they paid him that way, too. So I think you can see that that's going to work out well. Now they have to maybe settle and see what other things they want to do at the cornerback position. Jim Schwartz was able to convince him to bring in Leotis McKinney, you know, bring in a guy, or McKelvin, who's, you know, was in Buffalo with him, and so he's a fit, kind of a angular type of cornerback. So, you know, they're pretty well filling out that starting roster, and now it's just a matter if they want to go more into free agency. I think it's more depth. Next moves, I'm sure, is going to be on the offensive line. We'll see if they end up trading Ryan Matthews. I mean, I think they can be happy with him, but there's still a chance they may trade him because he's part of that Chip Kelly gang.
So let's take a look at the quarterback position. They elect to bring back Sam Bradford, which I thought was a good deal for the Eagles, only getting him on a 2-year deal, and it may only end up being a 1-year deal. We'll see how that plays out, looking at his play this year coming up in the future. But they also get Chase Daniel today on a 3-year deal. That will become official in a few hours. So how do you view the Eagles at quarterback right now?
I like it. Yeah, because, I mean, you can see, you have to do something at quarterback. And Sam was playing pretty well toward the end of the season. They liked what he was doing. He was getting more comfortable. I mean, maybe it was a slow start, picking up a new offense, coming off a knee injury. Those things were working against him, but he was pretty effective down the stretch. So that was good. And, yeah, if it doesn't work out, okay, so they have to take a $4 million payout next year on a guarantee. They got that with the luxury of being able to do it, and if he does well in 2 years, he can get a bigger contract. So I thought it was a win-win there, and naturally Doug was able to get the backup quarterback that he feels most comfortable with, and he feels is one of the better backups in the league, even though he's not been on the field much. So again, the family feeling is going well because, I mean, if you're sitting there and you're Doug Peterson, you can't be any happier than the way things are going because you're getting players that fit in, and you're filling a lot of holes very quickly.
So you have a big trust level now in Howie Roseman. You trust him to lead the Eagles in the right direction, correct?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, I think you can see things got disjointed. I mean, there was a lot of politics being played. I mean, Howie Roseman had to move to the other side of the building. That wasn't the real fun thing for him. But, what you like is that, he's gone back and he's taken a mix of players, that he helped draft before Chip got there, got them the contract extensions, and then pick the ones that he liked from, Chip. And, of course, he was involved in some of those selections. But what you like is, teams that are good rebuild from within. They're the ones that get the contract extensions. And so since 2010, they've at least drafted well enough that they've got second contracts with 10 players. And they'll get Cox done. That'll be 11. That leads the league. And that's the way you build. And so the fact that, look at a team like Jacksonville. There's hardly anybody from prior to 2013 that they are even going to re-sign, and that's the problems with teams that don't draft well. There's nobody to re-sign. At least they've been drafting well enough that they can come back and pay a Lane Johnson, pay some of the other guys that they were able to take care of, and pay a Vinnie Curry. So that's encouraging, and I think it shows that there's some pretty good talent on this team.
It's funny how much a difference a year makes because last year DeMarco Murray was the big signing for the Eagles, and now he's no longer here. At the end of the day, last year the scheme just didn't work out with him and Chip. Maybe they were trying to salvage that, but obviously that didn't work out. Why didn't DeMarco Murray not work out here in Philly?
He's an I-formation back in a shotgun offense. I mean, very simple, and that's something that you can see from the very beginning it wasn't a real good fit. Go back to the first game that Adrian Peterson played last year with Teddy Bridgewater. Dorff turned to the offensive coordinator, had him in shotgun, and, Adrian just, he doesn't like it. I mean, he's a 7-yard a guy that takes the ball and then just overpowers things, and that's what Murray's able to do when he was in Dallas. Now he goes to an offense, and Mike Mularkey can tailor more toward him and get the most out of him. But they really didn't give Murray the offense that suited his talents. And, maybe that's, again, Chip Kelly with, his mind on what he wants, because, Chip's big on getting a running game. But sometimes, you pay $8 million and you get a guy that just doesn't fit.
Wrapping up with John Clayton, who joins us from ESPN. Earlier in the week, you had the whole Peyton Manning press conference as he announces his retirement after 18 great seasons. Give me your favorite Peyton Manning story.
Honestly, this past year was more, I think, special than anything else, just kind of watching him go through things that he's never seen before. Peyton Manning taking a pay cut. You've never seen that. Then you see him go through an offense that it really didn't fit his style because he's a quarterback that works out a shotgun, does 3 receiver sets. He was having to try to work out of a 2 tight end offense and had him do rollouts. And watching him do rollouts wasn't pretty. And then watching him get benched and somehow be able to survive that. And then the big thing is going to the Super Bowl and seeing him walk away with a trophy that you really almost didn't expect. And so that, to me, makes the favorite because he's certainly been one of the great gentlemen in the game. He has such an appreciation for history. From the media standpoint, you can't find a guy any better. And I'm just happy that he gets that second Super Bowl ring. He now can be considered, in my opinion, the 3rd best quarterback all time because you do need those Super Bowl championships to go with him. So it was just a great finish to a great career.
Does Brock stay in Denver? And if not, who does Elway target there for quarterback?
Yeah, I think he stays. I mean, obviously the agent is being very smart about it, trying to milk as much money out of the deal as they can. But 3 years, $45 million is a pretty good contract for a guy that has only played 7 games. He's with a coach that is going to coach him up real well in Gary Kubiak. He's got a great defense behind him. The players in the team like and respect him. They've been grooming him for 4 years to be the starter. I just can't see him going to Houston trying to get an extra $1 million on that contract. I think he takes the deal.
Final one with the very busy, the professor from ESPN, and that, of course, is John Clayton. Calvin Johnson announced his retirement this week as well. Did Calvin Johnson play his final game in the NFL? Because that seems a little bit bizarre to me that he retires at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that 3 years of taking hits and having injuries just wore on him, and I think we're going to see more of this because, players are making more money. I mean, he's been making seemingly $15 million a year forever, and so he's got a lot of money in his pocket, and the body was starting to feel bad, and so he walks away. It's sad because, I mean, here is one of the most talented receivers you can have, and he's sitting there like 43rd on pass catches and 25th in the league historically for yards. And so, if he played 3-4 more years, he's almost like a first ballot Hall of Famer. And for talent, he may be a first ballot consideration. But it's just sad to see a guy like that give it up. But hey, he was able to do it on his own terms, and that may be more important than anything else.
John, I'm sure you've been on your phone all day, and it will continue late into the night. So we appreciate you giving us a call today. Thanks so much.